In 2025, the Cincinnati Bengals will need to fix their string of horrific starts. Head coach Zac Taylor has just one win in the first 2 games of any season during his tenure. So, that's 6 seasons with a 1-11 record for the opening pair of games. That's putrid and can put your team behind the 8 ball a little bit to start the year. Taylor, like many NFL head coaches, doesn't like to play his starters during the preseason. But comparatively, it seems like he's especially careful in sparsely using his first-team guys. All-Pro wide receiver Ja'Marr Chase was asked about the preseason and the team's incredibly slow starts. Is there any correlation between the two? Sounds like we need to play in the preseason, huh? Chase said after the first day of OTAs. Last year, the Bengals played their starters for one offensive series during the preseason opener against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That was it. Other than that, during Taylor's regime, the starters played for 3 plays all the way back in 2021 and Chase dropped a screen pass. It wasn't a great screen, Chase joked when reminded of the play by reporters. I remember what happened now. In 2024, the Bengals started 0-3 and ended up with a 9-8 record. As if 0-3 wasn't bad enough, they dropped the opening game at home to the New England Patriots. Yes, the Patriots, who would go on to win 4 games in an extremely dismal season. Those 3 losses to start the year absolutely cost the team a playoff berth and ruined incredible individual seasons from Chase, Triple Crown winner in the NFL for catches, 127, yards, 1,708, and touchdowns, 17. And quarterback Joe Burrow, who threw for 4,918 yards, 43 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions. Not making the postseason with those 2 performances alone is almost hard to do. It wasn't a great screen, Chase joked when reminded of the play by reporters. I remember what happened now. In 2024, the Bengals started 0-3 and ended up with a 9-8 record. As if 0-3 wasn't bad enough, they dropped the opening game at home to the New England Patriots. Yes, the Patriots, who would go on to win 4 games in an extremely dismal season. Those 3 losses to start the year absolutely cost the team a playoff berth and ruined incredible individual seasons from Chase, Triple Crown winner in the NFL for catches, 127, yards, 1,708, and touchdowns, 17. And quarterback Joe Burrow, who threw for 4,918 yards, 43 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions. Not making the postseason with those 2 performances alone is almost hard to do. Starting out winless in the first 2 games puts an awful lot of pressure on Game 3. Ryan Phillips of Sports Illustrated says the odds of doing anything with your season after an 0-3 start are awful. As you would expect, dropping to 0-3 is far worse for a team's playoff chances than starting 0-2, but the difference is dramatic, Phillips writes. Since 1990, 162 teams have opened the season 0-3 and only 4 of them have made the postseason. That's 2.5%. Of those 4 teams, 2 wound up winning their divisions. That's 1.2%. None of those teams that started 0-3 have won a Super Bowl. Even if the Bengals don't go 2-0 or 3-0 out of the gates, they need to do better than they have in the past 6 years. Chase missed all of the team's training camp practices in 2024 due to a contract holdout, and he admits that it affected his early season performance. I could say I wasn't mentally ready to be on the field, Chase said. I was in my own head. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to play, but I was in my own head. That won't be a problem for Chase this year since he signed a 4-year, $161 million deal recently. And he knows that achieving his goal of winning the AFC North will be helped tremendously by a quick jump out of the gates. My biggest thing this year, going forward, is making the playoffs, man, Chase said. We got to get to the playoffs. That's my first step, but the team goal is to win the division. On his end, Taylor sounds like he's open to mixing up his strategy of playing starters in the preseason, even if he ends up erring on the side of safety and caution. The one thing I do feel good about is playing our guys in the preseason, Taylor said. That's always subject to change, depending on health and how things go with our team during training camp, but that's one thing that we've openly talked about with our players, and I think will help us as we do it. Micah Warren has been covering the NFL and sports in general for more than 20 years, and he began writing for Heavy in 2025. Previously, he has written for Off the Record, gcob.com, Blast Magazine, and other sports and non-sports related outlets. Micah also co-hosts the Philly Pulse podcast. More about Micah Warren. Looking back at recent developments within Zac Taylor's team, one of the most significant storylines was the contract extension saga involving the star wide receiver, something that, according to the former LSU standout, caused his mind